Please hurry, Doctor. I'm sure something terrible's happened. I've been ringing and ringing the bell and nobody answered.
Where is everybody?
No. Oh, look, there's a light in the study.
Hello and welcome. And welcome to our panel who are here today to tell us who done it. Shaw Taylor.
Hello.
Reginald Bosankit. Dahlia Lavi. And Jon Pertwee.
Good evening all.
I'd like you also to meet our studio audience in colourful summer attire. Would you like to hold up these cards, please? Now, everybody has a card like this in the studio audience and the panel, and later on I'll be asking you to fill in who done it and why. As many clues as you can possibly muster. Now, remember, there will be red herrings galore, so do not believe anything you see. In fact, don't believe anything you hear. Here we go, back to Scotland and the knife in the back.
Yes, he's coming round. That's quite a lump he's got on the back of his head. I'm going to telephone the police.
Who would want to kill my husband?
Mrs. McTavish, this is Dr. McQuail. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Is the constable there? Oh. Well, when he comes back, will you ask him to come round to Mr. Mitchell's? Yes. There's been a murder.
Murder? Who's been murdered?
I'm afraid it's Mr. Mitchell himself. Yes, stabbed with a paper knife. Well, as soon as he gets back. That's the trouble with only having one constable on this little island.
My God.
What happened, Mr. Fraser?
Happened? I don't remember. I was here talking to Mr. Mitchell and suddenly I went dizzy. I must have passed out. The Lord has strange ways.
I'm afraid we won't get much out of him yet. I knew no good would come of these ridiculous spiritualist meetings. Were you here?
No, you see, I had an argument with my husband before the seance and I went down to the village to post some letters.
Was the argument about the meetings?
Well, as usual, it started that way. You see, I'm sure there's something evil in it. Only...
Yes, go on.
Well, this was over Miss McLean.
Oh, so he invited her again this weekend.
Yes, that girl's been nothing but trouble. She's trying to take him away from me.
Oh, so that's why you weren't able to sleep. You should have told me.
Well, it's out now. It's too late because, you see, Gordon promised after our row that he'd never invite her here again.
Oh, there. Now, you just sit down a minute. Now, when you got back from the village, you couldn't get in.
No, I left my key in the house. I couldn't get an answer to the bell, and so I ran to get you.
Who else is in the house?
Well, apart from Fraser and that girl, there's Mr. Campbell Ross.
Campbell Ross.
A new member of the group, introduced by Miss McLean.
Whiskey? I thought your husband was teetotal, Mrs. Mitchell.
Everyone thought that. He kept it hidden in the grandfather clock.
Don't touch that stuff. It's only for sinners, Doctor.
I won't. It's for the police. Now, where's Miss McLean and Campbell Ross?
They've gone up to their rooms. If you'll excuse me, I must get some fresh air.
Which rooms are they in?
Well, Miss McLean is in there.
Miss McLean? Just as I thought. That's why Fraser felt dizzy. They've been drugged. Mrs. Mitchell, would you get my bag? Oh, and a glass of water.
Yeah. Dead? Oh, how awful. Poor Gordon. I can't believe it. Who would have done such a thing?
Here's Mr. Campbell Ross. I've told him what's happened.
Isabel, are you all right?
Yes, I'm a bit dizzy, but I'm all right. It's terrible. Gordon's dead.
Are you all right, Mr. Campbell Ross?
Yes, I'm fine.
Oh, so you were the only one in the house who wasn't drugged.
Oh, were you drugged too, Mrs. Mitchell?
No, I was out. And someone in this house murdered my husband.
Now, why don't you go and lie down for a moment, Mrs. Mitchell? Now, what happened, Miss McLean?
Well, we came as usual from the mainland for our meeting. It was a special one, you see. I was to introduce Mr. Campbell Ross to the group.
Oh, Mr. Campbell Ross was a friend of yours?
Yes, I've known him for some time. He's a journalist, and he wanted to write an article on spiritualism for a magazine.
Did Mr. Mitchell know he was a journalist?
Well, no. You see, he hated publicity. But I knew Mr. Campbell Ross would write a favourable article. See, we talked a lot, and he was very interested.
Here, drink this. It'll make you feel better.
Thank you.
What happened at the séance?
Well, we had some awfully good results.
Little rain warns that there is one amongst you who seeks power, but their ambitions will not be fulfilled.
Who is this person?
That you must find out for yourselves.
I ask again, Little Rain, who is it?
Are you all right, Gordon?
Who was it?
A spirit calling itself Little Rain.
Oh. I hope you were impressed, Mr. Campbell Ross.
Oh, very. I particularly liked the flying trumpet. It's a pity it was too dark to see it clearly.
I'm sure Mr. Campbell Ross was very impressed, Gordon.
Did you get it all on the tape, Isabel?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
Oh, I'll go and make the tea.
Can I help?
No, it's all laid out. So, then I went off to make the tea.
Well, somehow the drug must have been in the tea as well as the whiskey.
The whiskey?
If you feel well enough, let's have a look in the kitchen. Now, can you remember exactly what you did?
Well, the tray was laid on the table here. The cups were already on it, and the tea bags were in the teapot. I boiled the water in the electric kettle.
Was it already full?
No, I filled it from the tap.
And then? You got the milk?
Oh, yes, I got the milk from the fridge here.
This is it. There's enough in there to put everyone out. Nothing in here. What made you choose that one?
Well, it was the only one that was opened.
So naturally you used it. Well, go on. You made the tea.
Yes. And then I took it back into the dining room.
Where's Gordon gone?
He's listening to the tape in his study and says he'd take his beverage in there.
Now, all take milk.
Go.
And the one without sugar is yours, Mr. Fraser.
I hope the kettle was boiling. You know the old proverb, Mr. Campbell Ross. Unless the kettle boiling be, filling the teapot spoils the tea.
Yes, that's what they do say. Isabel, I've got a favour to ask you. My bed's rather small for me. I notice you've got a double. Would it be all right if you...
No, certainly, Ian. We'll change rooms.
Oh, that's sweet of you. I'll just nip upstairs and change the bags over.
So it's Isabel and Ian, is it? I hope our beloved leader knows that. Don't just stand there, Miss McLean. Shouldn't you take Gordon his tea?
Surely you're not jealous, Mr. Fraser.
My only concern is the welfare of our movement.
I'm sorry we can't all be perfect like you, Mr. Fraser.
Who is it?
It's your tea.
I thought for a moment it was Fraser. Would you like a dram?
Hasn't your wife found out where you keep that yet?
She's no idea. There's a lot of things she doesn't know, eh? But I'm afraid she suspects. We had a row earlier about you.
You're not going to drink the tea, I'll have it. Look, Gordon, I don't want to be any trouble. Perhaps it would be better if I just kept away.
You mean this Ian Campbell Ross might be more interesting?
Oh, don't be silly, Gordon. He's just an old friend.
Where do I stand?
Oh, Miss McLean, may I have a word with Mr. Mitchell alone?
Certainly. But it's going to be the last word you do have with me, Fraser. I'm tired of you interfering. Will you excuse us, please, Isabel?
So I went upstairs, had a word with Ian on the landing, and I must have passed out in my room.
I see you're learning the true state of affairs here, Doctor. When a fish goes rotten, it starts at the head.
Welcome back to Whodunnit, and for those of you who've just joined us, here the plot so far. On a remote Scottish island, a murder has taken place. Mr. Mitchell, the leader of a spiritualist group, has been stabbed to death, and his body was found by his wife and the local doctor. Now, the strange thing that's come out so far is that everyone in the house was drugged, except Mr. Campbell Ross. He's a journalist and appears to be sceptical about spiritualism. Miss McLean is more than spiritually involved with the late Mr. Mitchell, and she made the tea with the milk that contained the drug. Mr. Fraser, there he is ambitious and wanted to take over the society. He has a very mysterious bump on the back of his head. So, let's go back as Mr. Fraser answers some of the doctor's questions.
Would you like to tell me what happened between you and Mr. Mitchell?
Try and stop him.
Certainly, Doctor. Of course, they couldn't deny they'd been kissing when I walked into the room. So, not only are you a seducer, you're drinking as well. Why don't you practice what you preach?
You listen to me.
No, you listen to me. Or I'll tell Mrs. Mitchell about you and Miss McLean, your doting disciple. The time has come for you, Gordon Mitchell, to resign as leader of our group.
So, it's blackmail. You'll tell the other members unless I hand over leadership to you. That was little Rain's warning on the tape. What's the matter, Fraser?
That's all I remember till I came round.
Can you tell me where you fell?
About here, Doctor, where you found me. Why?
I was wondering how you got that lump on the back of your head.
Ah, well, perhaps I hit it on the corner of the desk or something. I don't remember.
Where did Mr. Mitchell keep his whiskey?
In the grandfather clock.
How did you know that?
I caught a glimpse of him some weeks ago hiding his devil's brew. Well, what's the whiskey got to do with it?
Well, whoever put the drug in the whiskey also put it in the milk.
Aye, one person there is who was not drugged.
Yes, Mr. Campbell Ross.
Oh, Doctor, have you found out anything?
Yes, the drug was put in the milk that was used in the tea.
Oh, well, I didn't drink any tea, so that accounts for the fact that I wasn't affected.
No, you came up to swap the bags over. You did change rooms, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
Did you go into the bathroom at all?
Yes, I went in to wash my hands. Is life a boon? If so, it must befall that death, whene'er he call, must call too soon. Oh. Oh. Oh, it's all set. I've changed the bags over. How about a nightcap?
Oh, no, thanks, Ian. I'm feeling so tired.
I knew it was a mistake coming to this seance meeting with you. What you're really after is Gordon Mitchell, isn't it?
Oh, look, I don't want to talk about that.
Well, I certainly won't have a word with him. I think he's a phony.
Please, I'm so tired. Can we talk about it in the morning?
All that little rain rubbish doesn't fool me. You wait till I write my story. Yes, well, I went into my room for a lie down and fell asleep. I didn't wake up until Mrs. Mitchell came in with the news.
You didn't go in and talk to Mr. Mitchell first?
No, I was going to leave that till tomorrow.
Ah, Mrs. Mitchell. Can you tell me where you keep the tablets I gave you for the insomnia?
In the bathroom.
Ah, just as I thought, empty.
But it was nearly full.
Well, the rest were put in the whiskey and the milk.
So that's how it was done.
Oh, there's my front door key.
But, Mrs. Mitchell, if your key was there, how did you get into the house?
Well, fortunately, I knew that Dr. McHale had one. We gave it to him to keep an eye on the house when we went over to the mainland.
We all have each other's keys.
That'll be the constable.
Yes, he'll be needing my evidence.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the suspects. Dr. McQuail, Miss McLean, Mr. Campbell Ross, Mr. Fraser, and Mrs. Mitchell. And this, in fact, is the point where we throw the whole thing open to questions by the panel. Now, first of all, I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen of the panel, that you have one 15-second playback of your choice. So I'll go down the line and ask you, Shaw, which particular piece would you like to see back?
I would like to see the discovery of the body again.
Discovery of the body, right? You are original.
Well, I'll be helpful because the bit I want to see is Mr. Fraser coming round, which I think immediately follows
Mr.
that.
Fraser coming round, right? You are. Dahlia?
I'd like to see the opening.
The very opening,
Very
all
opening,
the mist
yeah.
and all that sort, right?
And they enter the house.
The very opening, and Jon Pertwee.
Well, frankly, I don't want to see any of it again.
You mean you've actually discovered it already, have you?
No, I'm not saying that, but if I must, I'd like to see the bit where that rather medium was rabbiting away to Big Chief Thunderclap.
Right, you are.
Just professional jealousy. That's all it is.
The medium scene you want to see.
The medium
Medium
yes.
scene, right, you are. Right, well, while sorting those out, let's start the questioning. Right, Shaw Taylor, would you like to start the questioning? We'll take one question from each of you down the line, and then we'll throw it open.
Right. Dr. McQuail, had you ever treated Mr. Mitchell for his secret drinking?
No.
Were you
I
aware
didn't
that
know he was a secret drinker.
You didn't know he was a drinker?
Sure. I hate to interrupt, but I did say one question, and that's two.
I thought that was
one.
sort of...
That's two in one.
that's two in
Let's
one.
go. Reginald, would you like to ask one question?
Yes, Mr. Fraser, you're full of folksy little sayings, like if the grouse fly high, you'll be sure today, this kind of thing. Where do you get them from?
Well, firstly, I'm not aware I'm full of folksy sayings, as you say. But if you've lived in the island for long, perhaps you get that way as well.
I sincerely hope not. But
Very good answer, Dahlia. Your question.
Mrs. Mitchell, you said that you were knocking on the door and nobody answered.
The front door?
The front door?
Yes.
And nobody answered. there was somebody awake in the house who wasn't drugged.
Well, it seems very strange. He said he lay down on his bed to read and went to sleep, so I can only assume he went into a deep sleep and didn't hear.
You said you knocked very, very hard.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Very strange.
And he didn't hear? That's your answer and you're sticking to it?
He didn't hear.
Ah. John, your question.
Well, I would like to ask you, Mr. Woodward.
Ask me?
Yes.
Oh, yes, of course. Please, feel free.
Well, thank you very much. It's very magnanimous.
I wasn't there, but I mean, if I can help, I will.
Well, I sincerely hope you will if
Yes.
you'll listen to my question.
What's the question?
I would like to ask if you would allow me to cross-examine the spirit guide, Chief Thunderclap. I consider him to be an absolutely vital witness.
Yes, well, I quite agree. If that was in my power, I would say, yes, you could. But you can't. I'd like to throw it out now to everybody. Would you like to sort of bombard them with questions? Ad lib ad nauseum.
I'd like Mr. Fraser to touch the bump on his head.
Would you touch the bump on your head, Mr. Fraser?
That's very strange,
That's
because they...
very odd. You used your right hand and the...
So, I've got my hand now, right across my head.
It's right across his
left-handed?
head.
It's right,
It's right across his head.
It's a very...
I think it was across
I'll
his
do it
head.
with this
on the
hand
other
too,
side.
if you like.
So you can do it with both hands. He's ambidextrous, let's face it.
Are you ambidextrous?
Or my left foot.
No, let's have no
Can I
liberty,
ask,
please.
Miss McLean, how far is the trip across to the island, Miss McLean?
Oh, it takes about an hour and a half on a ferry.
And what time did you travel?
Well, we came over in the afternoon. We came, well, sort of lunchtime, didn't
And what was the weather like then?
we? Oh, pretty nasty, actually. Cloudy, dull, rainy.
It quite often is
Yes.
up there, isn't it?
It is,
Yes.
it's horrid.
John, I can see your eyes sparkling. Do you have a...
Yes, I do. The voice of that spirit... forgive me going on about
No.
Chief Thunderclap.
Please, please.
But the voice of the spirit guide sounded particularly phony to me. I would like to ask, therefore, if Mr. Campbell Ross was ever a ventriloquist. I have an idea that we worked together at the Palace Accrington in 1937.
No, sir, I am a journalist, freelance journalist. I think that your hilarity is a little misplaced. After all, a man has been murdered.
I would agree with that.
Certainly
I would quite agree.
I'm trying to...
Gentlemen, if you please. Gentlemen, we have the first playback, which in fact is Dahlia Lavi's playback, and you wanted to see the opening of the whole piece, did you not? Right from the very beginning, with all that mist and all the doors and the keys and all the rest of it. So it's just coming up on the screen now.
Oh, please hurry, Doctor. I'm sure something terrible's happened. I've been ringing and ringing the bell and nobody answered.
All right, there we are.
Yeah.
All right. Now, would you like another
All right.
question? Having seen that, and of
Yes,
course...
I'd like to ask Mrs. Mitchell. When you in those meetings that it happens every week or something like that, are you the one who always prepares the tea and the tray and everything before you leave the house? Because it was found already there with the cups and everything in the kitchen.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes my charwoman does.
Ah, we didn't see her.
How did you come to leave your keys behind, Mrs. Mitchell?
Well, I was rather upset because we'd had this argument, and I was going down to the village. I rather sort of slammed out. And there were people in the house, so I didn't really think about taking my key.
Why would you leave the key in a guest room? What were you doing there in the first place?
The
It was
guest
not your bedroom.
It was in a bathroom.
Ah, it was in the bathroom
Yeah.
because he said he changed rooms. I thought that was the bathroom of the...
Why did you have occasion to take your keys out in the bathroom?
I don't know how they got into the bathroom.
It's quite, one leaves keys all over the place.
I thought I
really
left
think
them in the kitchen, in my handbag.
How far away does the doctor live?
Sure, may we ask that question in a minute? Because, in fact, we have the next playback now, which, in fact, is your own.
Right.
And it was the discovery of the body, with all that blood and the knife in the back.
No. Look, there's a light in the study.
Doctor, how did Mr. Mitchell die?
Mr. Mitchell. He was stabbed in the back.
But I mean, how did he die? Did it pierce what, his heart?
It pierced his heart.
Did it?
Yes.
And did you see Mr. Mitchell when you looked through the window as you were going out to the room? Was there a light in the room then? The curtains were drawn, were they?
Yes.
May I ask, you seem rather surprised that it pierced his heart. John, I noticed you went harumph at that particular moment, just like harumph.
He often does.
Yes, I know.
I just felt like having a good laugh.
Oh, well, there was, you weren't.
It seemed to be rather high up for his heart.
Yes.
Also on the right-hand side.
Yes.
It was high up in between the shoulder blades.
Wind in, you know, these long thin knives.
How many keys do you carry on your key ring, Doctor?
Oh, about 4 or 5.
Whose keys are there, apart from the house, that house?
Well, there's Mrs. McTavish, that you heard of. There's Mr. McCluckley, who lives on the other side of the island.
You haven't heard of him?
No.
No.
Nor's the doctor, I don't think.
We have.
There's
judging by the way you pronounced it.
Doctor, if excuse me, we do have, in fact, our third playback, which in fact is Reginald Bosanquet's playback, and this is a point where Mr. Fraser is coming round.
The ambidextrous Mr. Fraser.
Yes, he's coming round. That's quite a lump he's got on the back of his head. I'm going to telephone the police.
Who would want to kill my husband?
Mrs. McTavish.
The whole thing is there. Mrs. McTavish is the guilty party.
Is that your answer?
Doctor, I would like to ask you how long you've been practicing in the island.
Oh, about 20 years.
And how many deaths have there been in that time?
Oh, there've been... I should think there've been about 5 or 6.
How many violent?
Oh, no violent deaths before.
This is the first one?
This was the first violent death.
No more questions.
Can I ask the doctor something? In the beginning, it seemed like, maybe I saw wrong, that the bag, you picked your bag up
Yes.
from near the house. You didn't come with the bag to the house.
Yes, I came with the bag. I put it down to get the key.
Ah.
Yes,
Whose
well,
car
no,
did you
we
travel
saw
in?
that
Did
quite
you travel in your own car?
Oh, my own, yes.
You did?
We have
Doctor,
the final.
Mr. Astor, I would like to ask the doctor a very important question. Who put the fire out outside that?
Oh, you mean the mist?
Well, oh, that's what it was. It looked like a raging inferno.
That was put in to fog you.
Oh, I see.
Oh, very good. That was very good. A funny, witty doctor with it. Right, we got on to the last playback, which is Jon Pertwee's, and it's the whole scene with the medium.
There's Big Chief laughing clap.
Little rain warns that there is one amongst you who seeks power, but their ambitions will not be fulfilled.
Who is this person?
Well, there you are.
Yes. Chief Thunderclap was obviously an asthmatic, wasn't she? But there's a question I'd like to ask here, Mrs. M. She goes to the village to post letters.
Yes.
May one ask who they were addressed to?
Well, there were 3 letters.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were bills, and one was to the Doctor Who fan club to ask for your autograph.
Ask us. I've got some photographs here.
Oh, thank you.
Collapse of Stout Party.
May I include another question?
Yes, please.
And that is
Yes,
that
free for all
Mr.
time.
Campbell Ross sang in the bathroom. Would he please, before us all now, like to re-sing that song in exactly the same way? Because I do feel that he was passing a secret message, perhaps.
Mr. Ross, do you feel like singing it?
I have this sort of habit of singing. It was probably Gilbert and Sullivan, but the thing is, you know, so much has happened since then. I can't.
You're ad-libbing, sir.
Was it something from the Pirates?
I have no idea. I'm asking you to sing the song that you sang before.
Perhaps it was I am the very model of a modern major
No, it wasn't that at all. I mean,
was it when you're lying awake with a dismal headache and you're process to move by anxiety?
And I'm very sorry that none of you asked for it to be played back.
Possibly I am a pirate king.
A gem of a moment. Obviously, you can't remember what it was.
Of the Ball of Kerrymuir or something.
No, it wasn't.
Don't think that's Gilbert and Sullivan.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, that in fact is your lot for questioning the suspect.
Great disappointment.
Ladies and gentlemen in the studio, you have these cards. Would you now fill them in, please? Whodunnit? And as many clues as you possibly can give. The panel will also be doing this. We'll be back very shortly with, I hope, their answers. And please, please, panel, no conferring. We'll see you soon.
Can I, because I'm not going to write it in, can I say my...
Well, we have winners from the panel and from the audience. First of all, Shaw Taylor. Who done it?
Fraser.
You say Fraser. Reginald Bosanquet, who done it?
Well, I thought it was suicide, first of all, because he couldn't stand spending the weekend with them, but I think it was Mrs. Mitchell.
Delia Lave. Dahlia
Mrs.
Lave.
Mitchell.
Mrs. Mitchell. John Pertwee, who done it?
May I refer to my notes?
You may indeed,
Rather
yes.
complicated. Well, I think that quite obviously Dr. McQuail done it, because he's posing as an ordinary doctor, but this is patently a lie. But by his name alone, he's obviously a bird vet.
Sure. Sure, follow that. Sure, give one clue.
Well, I think,
Why do you think Mr.
going on the old idea of the 3 M's, that's motive, means and method, he was the one person who had all 3.
I see. Reginald.
I thought the doctor and Mr. Fraser were too obvious, and Mrs. Mitchell and the business of the keys was very fishy.
Uh-huh. And Dahlia.
Well, I think she was the only one who basically had a reason to kill her husband. And also, what was very strange to me, that somebody goes to her house, to his own house, and knocks and screams, and nobody answers. The first obvious thing I would do is look through the window. And if she would look through the window, she would have seen everything.
Uh-huh, I see. Well, we've already heard from John as to why he thinks Dr. McQuail did it. So let's, in fact, meet the winner from her studio audience. And here he is, Stephen Collinson. Congratulations. Stephen, what do you do? What's your job?
I'm a chef.
A chef?
Yes.
Ooh. That's far removed from detective work, isn't it?
It is rather.
Well, perhaps it isn't, I don't know. And let me have your card. Yes? That's the answer. And 1, 2, 3 very, very good clues. Now, you have a choice of anything, any gift on this table. All of these have been used as exhibits in the play you've just seen. Those two go together. Yeah. Luggage, there's a clock, there's a watch, tape recorder, desk set.
I'll have the cassette thing, please.
The cassette?
Yeah.
There you are. With great pleasure. Thank you very much. Now, we announce the winner from the panel. We had one rather strange thing. Dahlia Larvey wrote out her clues in Hebrew. So somebody's flying over to find out and tell us if she, in fact, won. Shaw Taylor said Mr. Fraser.
Right.
Wrong. Reginald Bosanquet said Mrs. Mitchell. Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Dahlia Larvey said Mrs. Mitchell. Correct. Jon Pertwee said Dr. McQuail. Wrong. So, will the real murderer please stand up? There she is.
Now, don't do it again, Mrs. Mitchell.
No, we do. Well, but wait a minute. We do have a bit of a problem, you see, because there are 2 people who, in fact, got it right. Dahlia and Reginald. But Dahlia gave all the wrong clues. You see, it was intuition. Yes, it was woman's intuition. But you see, that's not what we wanted. We wanted the clues. And I'm afraid Reginald, well, not afraid, but Reginald, in fact, gave exactly all the right clues. Where are you?
He's a journalist.
Well, I know, but you see...
He works in the news.
You see, I suppose, perhaps it was from the translation from the Hebrew into the English.
I was looking over her shoulder and reading them.
I do have, in fact, a great pleasure, Reginald Doesn't in declaring you the winner. And you will
Can we not have the clues?
Oh, you can. Of course you can have the clues. I've got them all down here somewhere.
Yeah.
But you've practically said them. Here are the clues. Mrs. Mitchell's key was not on the bathroom shelf earlier. She knew that Campbell Ross had changed rooms. Campbell Ross would have heard the bell if Mrs. Mitchell had rung it, because that was already proved. Mrs. Mitchell was jealous of her husband's affection for Miss McLean.
Very true.
And, in fact, Reginald got three of those. So, Reginald doesn't get...
Are you free to do Please 5 next week?
Am I allowed to nominate, Edward, which charity I would like Shaw Taylor sent to?
Yeah, and all those 5 policemen he keeps carrying around with him week after week after week. So, Reginald, afterwards you nominate a charity of your choice, and £25 will be going to, in fact, that charity.
Thank you very much.
I hope that you at home all enjoyed the game. And congratulations again to our Reginald. Congratulations to our winner in the studio. Next week, we've got a crime of fashion. So I hope you'll all come along and join us. It is same time, different crime, new panel. I'm going to say good night to you. God bless you all. Take care. And good night to the panel. And good night to the cast. God bless.